Hey VC, how's it going? Right, 1988, nearly there. Just watched Fred's video. I must admit, of his 10 choices, I think 7 of those records would be in my top 10. So, just for the interest of variety, I've taken majority of those records out. Apart from this one, this is the Pixies, Surfer Rosa. This would be a contender for my album of the year. So I've left this one in. But yeah, it'll be this or Doolittle for my favourite Pixies album. Maybe a toss up between the two. But on this one, stuff like Bone Machine, Where's My Mind, Cactus, Broken Face, Tony's Theme. Yeah, great album. Right, okay. For 1988, I say it'll either be the Pixies or get the right around. Hats by the Blue Nile for my favourite record of this year. I don't have this on vinyl, so I haven't shot on CD. I showed a walk across rooftops, get my words out, for 1984, their debut album, but this is a step up again. I mean, the single on this was Downtown Lights. I don't think it was necessarily a hit single, but it was certainly the single. Yeah, this is just a lovely record. Paul Buchanan's voice, I said it before, you know, I could listen to him sing the phone book. He's just got a gorgeous soulful voice. If you haven't heard this, check it out. Wonderful record. Right, okay. Also 1988, Bummed by the Happy Mondays, I think is how you meant to say it. Yeah, this record is the start of the whole Manchester thing for me. You know, up until this point, it was, you know, Manchester was very much about the Smiths. New Order's sound was obviously very different in the early 80s compared to what it turned into in 1989 with the release of Technique. So yeah, I think this is the start of all that. That sort of mix between indie music and dance music. You know, Sean Ryder, for what he is, a great lyricist. You know, they always made interesting records. Even their last album, Yes Please, which is a bit of a stinker, it's still an interesting listen. You know, so. But yeah, Bummed by the Happy Mondays, I think this is probably their best album. Although I do like Pills, Thrills and Bellyaches, came out in 1990. But yeah, great listen. Right, okay. Bit of a funny one, this. The Proclaimers, Sunshine on Leith. Now, I said before that I really like people that sing in their own voices, and I don't think anybody does that more so than the Proclaimers. I know they're almost seen as a bit of a comedy novelty act, obviously being twins with those thick glasses and that strong Scottish accent, but admittedly, you know, the big single on this, I'm going to be 500 miles. You know, if I never heard that again, it'd be too soon. You know, but the reason why I'm putting this in my list is I heard the title track on the radio the other day. I was in the car. I can't remember where I was driving from, but Sunshine on Leith came on the radio, and I say by the end of the song, I was totally choked up. Such a gorgeous record. So definitely deserve it to be in the top 10. Right, okay. Right, the debut album from House of Love. I think this is their best record. Yeah, great debut album. I like their other stuff actually, the stuff that they put out in the very early 90s. But yeah, this is on Creation Records, original UK pressing. Yeah, lovely record. Right, okay. Prefab Sprout from Langley Park to Memphis. Not their best album by any means. I think I showed Steve McQueen before. I think I did anyway. Which I'd say is their best record. I also really like Jordan the Comeback, which came out I think 1989 after this record. But this has got the some big pop songs on it. Stuff like King of Rock and Roll, which obviously everybody knows. Cars and Girls, Hey Manhattan. It's a very 80s sounding record. It's very polished, but Paddy McAloon, wonderful songwriter. So yeah, Prefab Sprout from Langley Park to Memphis. Right, okay. On the same label actually, Kitchenware Records, Martin Stephenson and the Dainties. I showed their Boat to Bolivia album, I think for 1986. This is the follow-up, and I think this is their best record. Yeah, this is Gladsome Humour and Blue. A relatively recent purchase for me, this one. So I hadn't actually heard it before. I know that they are often described as being sort of folk band. Part of it, you know, part of their sound is a bit folksy, but I prefer the sort of pop side of their sound. Yeah, I mean, I said before that I think his vocal is He's very similar to Green Gart, aside from Scritti Politti. That's what it always reminds me of. But also, I suppose, Paddy McAloon. It's a similar sort of delivery. Not necessarily straight folk is I suppose the point I'm making. But yeah, the tune on this and what made me buy this record and get into this band in the first place is Holy Humble Heart, which came out, I say, as a single. Great stuff. Right, okay. There's a few more. Lucinda Williams, her debut album. I think is it a debut album? It's certainly her first on Rough Trade. Yeah, I was going to show the Trinity Sessions by the Cowboy Junkies. Fred put that one in, so I thought, you know, put something else in my list instead. This is a nice record. It's sort of alt country before, you know, alt country became a thing. She's got that lovely smoky voice. Yeah, and a great songwriter as well. So yeah, Lucinda Williams. Right, I think every other year I've showed a Prince record, so 1988 is no different. Love Sexy came out in '88. This is the follow-up to Sign of the Times. He did actually record an album in between, which, you know, heavily bootlegged record, the Black Album, that was recorded and was set to come out in early '88, and quite late on Prince pulled the record, and I'm glad he did, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's got a bit of a mythical status, the Black Album, certainly among Prince fans. But this is a much better record. I think the reason why he pulled the Black Album was because it's not very good. That's my personal view on it. But yeah, this is a lovely record. And I think the thing that I like about Prince's '80s albums are that they each have their own feel. You know, you look at the track listing on this record, and it feels like those songs could only be on this album. You know, you couldn't have put them on Sign of the Times or Parade. You know, they only fit with this record. And that's what Prince was very good at throughout the '80s. And there's a lot of talk about the vault and the amount of music he's recorded, but you could see that each album was put together to have its own feel, to tell its own story. And I say it's certainly the case with Love Sexy. It's the other side of the coin to the Black Album, which was a very, very dark album. If that had come out at the time, Sign of the Times I think is quite a dark record as well. You know, so you know, following that, it would have given, I think, his career at that point and the way that we see him in the '80s a very different feel again. But this is a lovely record. Stuff like Alphabet Street, Glam Slam, I Wish You Heaven, they were the singles off the record. But yeah, the whole thing. When I actually bought this is the first Prince album that I bought, 1988. I bought it on CD, and just what I was saying about it being, you know, meant to be seen as an album rather than just a collection of songs. The CD at the time was just one track, so you couldn't skip from track to track. You had to listen to the whole thing in its entirety, which is a bit of a balls when you know you only want to listen to track 7 or whatever. But you know that you could see what his intention was with the record. So yeah, Prince Love Sexy. Finally, Transvision Vamp, Pop Art. I showed In Excess, Kick for 1987. This is a very similar type thing for me. You know, it reminds me of that sort of very polished '80s pop rock sound. I really quite liked that back in the '80s as a kid, and I'm pretty sure that I had a crush on Wendy James as well. So there you go, that's my 10. Cheers.